Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again with another interesting Jay Slater video. Hope every single one of you are doing well. Smash the like button. We're going to dive straight into this. All right, cool. So we're going to start right here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a report that was published sometime last year, around June, July of last year. It was published by a publication over in Tenerife, and then the Manchester Evening News also shared the same report. Now, this is extremely interesting because this report talks about two people that reside in Masca, local residents named Irene and Manolo. Now, I think I remember reading this article a number of months ago, but I can't be sure if we shared it on the channel. So it says here that the Manchester News has been in the area where Jay went missing. They spoke to Irene and Manolo, who are local residents of Masca. According to the aforementioned media, they expressed their surprise and concern about the decision to return on foot to Los Cristianos. It doesn't make any sense. Pausing it right there for 1 second, when Jay come out the Airbnb and went the wrong way, what that automatically done was made Jay's walk even longer. And surely Jay knew that, so why would he walk the wrong way, even if Google Maps told him to go that way? If he was consciously awake in the car, driving up to Masca, as well as being outside the green door with the blanket filming, if that was really him, he would have seen not only a lot of civilization going downhill, he would have known that was the direction that they came from. Anyway, back to this. They said, we believe that something strange has happened here. And they're right. Something strange has happened. Someone has faked a story to make it look like Jay Slater was at that Airbnb alive. He left and walked the wrong way. That's what's happened. That's the strange thing that's happened there, Irene and Manolo. Other than Jay's phone, there is no physical proof that Jay was there. There's no CCTV putting Jay there. There's no pictures of Jay in the Airbnb, outside the Airbnb. There's no pictures of him in the ravine. There's no pictures of him on those white stones, on the road, walking up to those white stones. If you actually think about what Brad was saying when he spoke to Jay, and he said, they wasn't concerned at first. Jay was saying, look where I am. I can see all greenery, adding what Rachel said. At that point, you would have thought Jay would have taken a picture of himself there. If that was his reaction to Brad on the phone, look where I am. Why are you not going to take a picture of where you are then? Why are you not going to video where you are then? Again, no proof that Jay was there whatsoever. And that conflicts with how Jay behaves. It conflicts with how Jay behaves. By Jay not taking a video or a picture of himself conflicts with how he behaves. Because prior to Jay going to Masca, Jay was taking videos and pictures of himself. There was multiple videos and pictures of Jay in Tenerife prior to going to Masca. Tell me why Jay would have went to a place that he's never been to before, the highest peak of the mountains, and not take any pictures or videos. Why? Why would he not do that? Come on, ladies and gentlemen, it's all fake. And just like Irene says, we believe something strange happened because something strange did happen. And that was them making it look like Jay went to that Airbnb alive and he left alive. It says here, the resident of Masca who has witnessed the police presence in the town believes it is strange that being thirsty and tired, he decided to return to Los Cristianos on foot. Manolo, which is Irene's husband, says for his part, Manolo's the guy that was born in Spain, in Tenerife, just to let you guys know that. But he believes that Jay Slater is no longer there. And the reason he believed Jay Slater was no longer there is because he says a lot of the people have been looking for him, a lot of the police units. If he was there, the crows would have seen him. So he made a good point. Being a local resident of Masca, he's made a valid point. He says the crows would have seen him. I mean, that's one animal out of the multitude of animals that would have possibly come across Jay's body. But he's pointing out the crows. The crows would have definitely seen him because he says as soon as they see a dead animal, like a goat or something like that, the crows are on top of it. But you got to think, after how many days of allegedly Jay being in that ravine, why wasn't there wildlife in the sky alerting people to a dead body? Okay, we're going to switch over to this, ladies and gentlemen, because Chris Tenerife and Sluggy the side chick, these guys are extremely dodgy. As I told you guys before, in my opinion, Chris Tenerife was manipulated. He was played as well as many other people were played. But he had invested so much time and effort into looking for Jay that he actually then bought into the accident narrative. Unless you're telling me Chris Tenerife is just a bullshit liar, is just faking it, and making it look like, to be quite fair, I wouldn't be surprised. But at this point, I'm just going to say Chris Tenerife got involved with good intentions. And from there, he was got to, he was played, he was manipulated, and you know the rest. I think these comments by Sluggy support exactly what I've said there. And I've never seen these comments before. So this person, Kelly, says, did you know, and tags Chris Tenerife, before the JS situation? Sluggy responds with nope, but this is where it gets interesting. He says, few days before he went down to visit Notch, he had the info provided to him, having joined our team here. Now, you know, Sluggy's a bit weird with his words, but he's basically saying, no, I didn't know Chris prior to the Jay situation. However, a few days before he went down to visit the V-Notch. So at this point, Chris doesn't even understand where the V-Notch is. And based on what Luggy's saying here, the information that Chris would have been given led him to finding that V-Notch or heading towards the V-Notch. But he says a few days before he went down to visit the V-Notch, he had the info provided to him, having joined our team here, which means he has a separate team and Chris is now involved in it. I mean, just based on that alone, ladies and gentlemen, you can see how Chris would have been manipulated and played, basically. So this person, Bobby, says, what is your team, Sluggy, and what do they do? Sluggy responds and says, my team is a three-man secret team of top guys that got my back as I have theirs. They helped me in a capacity unknown, but there is a much larger team behind that one. Also, Team Chris, Adrian, and Mill, which is Millie, Dora the Explorer, clearly. When I read that message, ladies and gentlemen, I think he's still referring to him, Chris, and Adrian, but he's just being absolute delusional with it at the same time, trying to act like there's some sort of secret team, top guys. You can track anyone down, no matter where you are, at the bottom of a ravine, at the bottom of the ocean, we'll track you down, bruv. Let's move on over to this, ladies and gentlemen. Here we have another massive contradiction by Ayub. Firstly, let's give a massive shout out to Jay's Army, always posting a lot of content on their channel. Make sure you go and follow them on their TikTok account, but they are literally keeping Jay's name alive. See, the accident group will make you believe that the Slaters don't want you talking about Jay Slater. No, stop talking about it. They don't want you talking about Jay anymore. I mean, of course, they don't want to be trolls. They don't want to be abused. They don't want to be accused of things that they definitely haven't done. So if anyone is doing that, stop it. But in terms of like not talking about Jay Slater anymore, do you really think the Slaters, and I include Debbie Duncan when I say that, do you really think they want us to stop talking about Jay Slater? No, they want us to keep Jay Slater's name alive. They want to keep Jay Slater's name alive until the truth is revealed, until the truth comes out, because they don't believe that Jay walked the wrong way, walked through the mountains for almost 3 hours to then walk off a cliff. They do not believe that, and it's the reason why we have an inquest part 2 and part 3, because it's a 2-day process. But here we have a contradiction. We've got a guy called Ben Joash. These names, the moment I saw that, I started thinking of Josh Forshaw. Fraudulent names that we have here. But this guy, Ben, says, I would love to know what went on in the Airbnb. Come on, spill the beans then, question mark. The Ayub's comment has been deleted. All of Ayub's comments and posts have been deleted. Everything that he was saying, anything that contradicts his official narrative has been deleted off of TikTok, especially off his own account. But here we have a comment where he says he was asleep until 12 p.m. He says he woke up at 8 to move my car, nothing really interesting. So he woke up at 8 to move his car. See, why mention moving the car? Forget waking up at 12 o'clock for a minute. Why mention moving the car? Why would he need to move the car at 8 o'clock? Jay left via his phone data at 7:47, 13 minutes before 8 o'clock. And then what's so important about Ayub moving his car at that time? If you actually think about it and you think about the whole story as a whole, what relevance does Ayub moving his car have to this story? What relevance does it have? But on several occasions, he was extremely adamant that he had to move his car. Ophelia knocked on the door and told him to move the car. She never mentions that. No one else mentions that other than who? Ramon Hernandez, who doesn't actually say he told Ayub to move his car. No. He says he told Ayub where to park the car. As if Ayub just pulled up. As if Ayub just pulled down the window and said, mate, do you know where I can park? But what's weird about Ramon's statement is he said the dark-skinned guy, I think he said dark complexion. He used dark complexion guy. He come out. That's literally how it started. He come out. But that's how Ramon Hernandez's statement starts. He come out, the black dark complexion one. Come out of where? We can only assume he's referring to the Airbnb, but then he says, I told him where to park the car. Where was the car then? Like, where was the car? How can Ayub just come out of somewhere and you tell him where to park the car? If you told him where to park the car, where was the car? If the car was parked where they claimed Rocky was sleeping in the car, then how did the white car get in behind when Jay was there with the blanket? Because remember, the white car was there, but the car that was there when Rocky was sleeping in the car was a blue car. It wasn't a white car. How did the white car get in past Ayub's car to park up next to the green garage, and then Jay takes the footage of himself in the blanket and films the white car and films the landscape and then stops? Just to prove, more or less, that he was there at that location. He doesn't show himself. No selfie, no picture of himself. No. Just the white car, the blanket, the cigarette, and the landscape. And here we have Ayub again adding, even though he didn't even need to add it when this guy asked the question. You know, look, you think about this guy's question. I would love to know what went on in the Airbnb. Come on, spill the beans then, question mark. Like, think about the question, but Ayub has said, was asleep until 12 p.m., woke up at 8 to move my car. Again, it's all a fake story. It's all fake because Ayub knows he can play with the story however he wants to play with the story. There is definitely a reason for why he is mentioning moving his car at 8 o'clock. There is a reason for that. 100% there is a reason for that. And it's got nothing to do with a filial knocking on the door asking him to move his car. It could take us back to what Haley Comet said when she claimed another car pulled up to the Airbnb around 7:30, in between the hours of 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning. And she believed some sort of exchange took place at that point. Now, I can literally lean towards agreeing with that, especially if Jay was dead in the back of the car when Ayub took the photo. I can lean towards agreeing with what Haley said there, that another car pulled up at 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning after or whilst they were fabricating all of this nonsense to make it look like Jay had been at that Airbnb, and that car and whoever was driving that car was involved in orchestrating and helping the removal of Jay's body, allegedly. These things are extremely interesting, and this right here is a contradiction to what Ayub has more or less said. Another reason why it is a contradiction is because Ayub claims he got the phone call at 9 o'clock in the morning from Lucy. We actually go back to the Central Club podcast where he explains what happened when he found out that Jay was missing. It's extremely alarming. And if you think about what he said, it doesn't sound like a conversation that was had over the phone, if it did happen. It sounds like it was a conversation that would have been had face-to-face. Like, say, they were at your door and you had that conversation with him. In fact, I'm pretty sure he says that he closed his door on them. I'm pretty sure he says something along those lines. I can't be entirely sure, but we'll have to go back and listen to that. But it's extremely interesting. These dots that are being connected at the Airbnb, you know, the focus has to be the Airbnb, and the dots that we're connecting at the Airbnb are starting to make a lot of sense. Ultimately, it means whatever happened to Jay happens before they claims they got to the Airbnb. That video of Jay filming Ayub saying that he's en route to sell a Rolex, not the AP, the first footage, selling the Rolex. In my opinion, whatever happened to Jay happened prior to that footage being created. Hence why that footage was created. All right, let's leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. I need every single one of you to comment down below and let me know exactly what you guys are thinking. The story that we've been given about them at the Airbnb is clearly a fake one. The more we talk about it, the more we look into it, the more we unravel the truth. And that is exactly what we've been doing. And that's what these videos are all about, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you hit the like button, do subscribe to the channel if we're newly watching, turn your notification bells on so you don't miss out on future uploads. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.